Trauma. It can come in many forms. Maybe certain words for you brings out trauma. Maybe certain moments in your life brings out trauma. Your mom and dad fighting when you were younger. Maybe you're a war veteran and you heard someone scream without having any lung. Maybe your homie was about to turn his life around and he got gunned down right in front of you. Everybody has trauma. Everybody knows where they were when this trauma started. And everybody has a trigger. And me, I'm affected by trauma. February 8th, 2026. I'm sitting at my friend's house on the couch watching the Super Bowl. Patriots versus Seattle Seahawks. If you watch this channel, you know how I feel about both these teams. But let's say I hate the shitty team, shitty city, smelly fan base of Seattle, Washington a little more. Mainly because I'm a 49ers fan. And oh well, look where the Super Bowl's at. 49ers home field. As I'm watching the Super Bowl, putting down a few beers, and before you know it, it's a blowout. And our biggest rival just won the Super Bowl in our home stadium and is popping champagne in our locker room. Now to all you war veterans out there, to all of you people who had to watch your family fight when you're younger, imagine my trauma at that moment. Cut water in hand, 49ers cap on, and I just watched the Seattle Seahawks win a Super Bowl in San Francisco.
Let me just grab my stuff off the bus.
So with this being said, the 2025 Super Bowl champion is the Seattle Seahawks. And that got me wondering, how can I find a way to drop a nuclear bomb on the city of Seattle? But no, on a real note, that got me wondering. Of the last 5 Super Bowl champions, can the Seattle Seahawks run the gauntlet? So that's what this video is about today. Whoa, 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 whoa! If you don't want to be a sex offender like Lawrence Taylor, like, comment, subscribe. And now let's get into this video. So I had to re-record this video completely. My mic stopped working, in case you were wondering why I looked different. First off, let's start off with the 2021 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we're going to start off talking about their roster. If we're going based off roster, I'll give it to the 2021 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Simply put, we're far enough in the future to see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have at least 5 Hall of Famers on that team, with Tom Brady at quarterback, Rob Gronkowski at tight end, Mike Evans at wide receiver, Levante David at middle linebacker, and Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. And I'm going to get this off the back too. The offense of the 2021 Tampa Bay Buccaneers is better than the 2025 Seattle Seahawks. They simply just don't compare to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 2025 Seahawks offense had 5,973 total yards of offense to Tampa Bay's 6,145. Tampa Bay had a better third down conversion rate, while the Seahawks had more total rushing yards with 2,096 to Tampa Bay's 1,519. When it comes to passing, it's not even close. Total passing yards for the 2025 Seahawks, it was 4,063 to Tampa Bay's 4,776. And when it comes to completions, when it comes to attempts, interceptions, average yards per attempt, and when it comes to better offensive line, the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers have them beat. And then you get to defense. Defensively, this isn't even close. The Seattle Seahawks defense is legendary at this point, and it's only been 2 days since the Super Bowl as of this recording. They held teams to 17 points per game. They had 47 sacks. They were first in the league in total yards allowed per game with 285. Go along with that, 18 interceptions. The only thing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really has on the Seattle defense is run defense. And considering Seattle has a really dominant run offense, that could play a big factor in the game. But the icebreaker comes in their playoff performances. This Seattle Seahawks team dismantled 2 teams, dismantling their division rival San Francisco 49ers 41-6. Fuck you, Seattle, by the way. You dirty, ugly city. All the niggas there are soft, by the way. And then dismantling the Patriots 29-13. The only team they struggled with was the Los Angeles Rams. But at the end of the day, they still made enough plays to beat them. And the offense got better in the playoffs. This playoff offense of the 2025 Seattle Seahawks was just as good than the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, putting up 41 points, 31 points, and 29 points, and holding teams to only 46 points in the playoffs, which is 15 points per game their opponents put up on them. While the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense in 2020 playoffs was solid, putting up 30 points for 4 straight games, when you bring in the fact the Seattle Seahawks offense almost matches them bar for bar when it comes to playoff offenses, and their defense is so much better, seeing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense gave up 23 points in the wild card against Washington, 20 points against New Orleans, 26 against Green Bay, and only giving up 9 against Kansas City. It's a wash for me. But I will say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster is better. But when it comes to them at their peak, offense, defense, coaching, the more complete team is the Seattle Seahawks, and that's why I believe they'll win this game. Next up is the 2021 Los Angeles Rams. Now I will say again, the 2021 Los Angeles Rams offense is better. Point blank, period. This offense in 2021 for the Los Angeles Rams had more total offensive yards at 6,325, had a better third down conversion rate, had more passing yards, had more completions, was more efficient, averaged more yards in attempt, had more total touchdowns, and their offensive line placed first in pass block win rate. They had the highest offensive EPA per play, offense success rate first in the NFL, and ranked 5th in passing yards per game and 7th in points scored. This shouldn't be a hot take, but this Rams offense is better. But defensively, of course the Seattle Seahawks are better. Scoring defense wise, they're the number 1 scoring defense. Overall defense, aka DVOA, they placed number 1, and points allowed. To bolster that with 47 sacks and an all-around better defensive roster than that Los Angeles Rams team. Defensively, it goes to the Seahawks. Roster wise, I'm going to give it to the Los Angeles Rams. Simply put, with Matthew Stafford on your team, Cooper Kupp on your team, Jalen Ramsey on your team, and Aaron Donald on your team, to go along with the best offensive line in football that year, it's pretty hard to have a better roster than that. And not to mention, Aaron Donald would be the best player on any side of the football in this football game. There's not a lot of players better than Aaron Donald at the game of football, point blank, period. And if you consider all the Hall of Famers such as Matthew Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, I give the slight edge to the Los Angeles Rams. Not saying the Seattle Seahawks roster is bad or anything, just simply they're young, you don't know how their careers are completely going to turn out, and I just simply trust the Los Angeles Rams 2021 roster more. If you wanted to argue overall, the Seattle Seahawks have a more complete roster, I can get down with that. But again, the difference here is how they performed in the playoffs, because this 2025 Seattle Seahawks team performed unbelievably in the playoffs. Simply put, the Seattle Seahawks averaged more offensive points per game than the Los Angeles Rams. The defense had more turnovers than the 2021 Rams. The 2025 Seahawks held their opponents to fewer points. They had fewer turnovers on offense. And outside of quarterback play, the 2025 Seahawks, at their peak in the playoffs, beat this team in almost every way possible. And not to mention, you could even argue the 2025 Seahawks had a harder strength of schedule when it came to the playoffs. This team as a unit plays insane. Offensively, they're insane. They played harder opponents, and they played better defenses and scored more. It's just that simple to me. Now let's get to the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs. I've been glazing the Seahawks too much. Let me get something out real quick. If I had one wish, it would be for Russia to drop a literal nuclear bomb on CenturyLink Field. It would be for Mike McDonald to be on the Epstein list. It would be if Kenneth Walker was caught at a Diddy party. Please make this happen, God. Please. I'm just gonna start off like this. The 2022 Chiefs roster is one of the weakest Super Bowl rosters of all time. Yes, this team did get the number 1 seed, but it was because they had one of the greatest MVP seasons of all time on their team. 2022 Patrick Mahomes. But with that being said, the Seattle Seahawks roster is just way more deep. They had more weapons. Their number 1 wide receiver was better than a 33-year-old Travis Kelce or Juju Smith-Schuster. Their defense was phenomenal. They have Devin Witherspoon, they have Leonard Williams, and just have a better all-around team. But this is 2022 Patrick Mahomes, so let's give it a shot. While this Chiefs team by far had the worst roster of the two teams, Chiefs offense was elite. They led the league in total yards with 7,032. Patrick Mahomes had the most total yards in an NFL season. They had the most total yards per game with 413.6. They had the most points for with 496. They averaged 29.2 points per game. They had the most passing yards at 5,062. They averaged almost 300 passing yards per game. They had 61 total touchdowns, 41 total receiving touchdowns, 408 first downs, and had a 75% fourth down percentage conversion. All of these led the league. They also led the league in EPA per drive. This Chiefs offense is unreal. With 2022 Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, it's not even close who has the better offense. It's the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs, one of the greatest offenses in NFL history, one of the greatest seasons by an individual quarterback in NFL history. So when it comes to numbers, when it comes to offense, you give it to the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to defense, it's really not close. It's the Seattle Seahawks once again. They might not lose in this category ever. They have the best all-around defense roster-wise than I think most of these teams on the list. And when you look at their stats, like their points per game and total yards allowed, it's ridiculous. And the fact they had 47 sacks, this 2025 Seattle Seahawks defense is one of the greatest of all time, at least in the modern era. So I don't feel like reiterating everything again. I believe my audience is smarter than that. But the 2025 Seahawks defense is better than the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs defense. Now let's get to the playoffs. And honestly, it's not close. I would like to believe Patrick Mahomes could pull it through because, as you see by that Chipotle bag, there's a Patrick Mahomes jersey right there. I'm from Kansas, chill. Random, but to you Kansas City, Missouri niggas that said I could never claim the Chiefs because I'm from Kansas, guess where they're moving? That's our team now. Y'all something else. That's our team. Maybe cheer for the Royals. I don't fucking know, nigga. But like I was saying, even offensively, the Seahawks put up more points per game. They played better defenses as well, since the Chiefs played the Jaguars and Bengals and Eagles, and only cracking 30 points once, which was in the Super Bowl. Just like every other team when it comes to this 2025 Seahawks team. When your offense isn't better and your defense isn't better, how do you expect to win the game? Now, some of you might say with Patrick Mahomes, but realistically and objectively, I would have to take the 2025 Seattle Seahawks. I gotta wash my tongue out with soap, bleach, or Flint, Michigan water for glazing the Seahawks this much. They dominated better teams, and their whole offense turned into playoff risers. With that being said, I'm taking the 2025 Seattle Seahawks. Now let's get to the 2023 Chiefs. I'm gonna make this real quick for you. I love the Kansas City Chiefs, not as much as the 49ers. Hail Brock Purdy. I'd suck your dick. I'm just joking. You're not my wife's boyfriend. I'd never suck your dick, and I really hope my wife makes me do that. The 2023 Chiefs have to be one of the weakest Super Bowl teams of all time. Now in the playoffs, they played great, but this team went 11-6. A lot of people didn't even think they'd make the Super Bowl or win it. Captain L'America was at its highest, and even when it comes to total offense, their offense was not better than the Seattle Seahawks this year. They had less total offensive yards at 5,972. They had less total rushing yards. They had more turnovers. They allowed more sacks. They had less total touchdowns at 37. They had a solid defense, but it wasn't better than 2025 Seattle, point blank period. And honestly, I don't even got to go in depth in the playoffs. The 2025 Seattle Seahawks would beat the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. Now on to the final team on the list, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. This is the best matchup possible. You could argue this Eagles defense was just as good as the 2025 Seahawks, as they led the league in total defense, first in yards allowed per game, passing defense first in passing yards allowed. They gave up the fewest first downs, second in the league in scoring defense, only allowing 17.8 points per game, which is the same as the 2025 Seattle Seahawks, and they forced more turnovers, being the second in the league in turnover differential, plus 11. The offense led the league in red zone touchdown efficiency, fourth down conversion at 70%, total offense and plays, had the 8th most total yards and 3rd most offensive plays in 2024, and they led the league in time of possession, meaning when they got the ball, they didn't usually give it up for a while. Now defensively, I really don't know where to go here. I'll give the slight edge to the Seattle Seahawks, but it's really recency bias maybe. But seeing how they dominated in the playoffs, dominated in the regular season, they led the league in more stats than the 2024 Eagles defense. I kind of have to go there, I'm not going to lie. But offensively, I would give it to the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson. Their offensive line was better. You could argue their running game was better. And I would argue their passing game. And I would argue I'm more scared of the 2024 Eagles passing game than the 2025 Seahawks. And roster-wise, I think it's a wash with the 2024 Seahawks. That team is so stacked. And it's still stacked to this day, really. And that really gets into the playoffs. Putting up 22 points against the Green Bay Packers in the wild card. Putting up 28 points against the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional. Putting up 55 against the Commanders. And putting up 40 against the Kansas City Chiefs. While I would argue the teams they played were weaker, offensively, the Philadelphia Eagles offense in the 2024 playoffs was better than the Seattle Seahawks 2025 offense. And not to mention, the worst thing about the 2025 Seahawks defense was their run defense, which wasn't really that bad. But if you got 2024 Saquon Barkley running at you, that's going to be a problem. While defensively, the Philadelphia Eagles defense wasn't as good as the 2025 Seahawks. Having the Packers put 10 points on them, having the Rams put 22 points on them, having the Commanders put 23 points on them, while having the Chiefs put 22 points on them. I would really argue a lot of these are garbage time points, such as the Super Bowl, for instance. It was really 40-6, and then they put their backups in. And not to mention, roster-wise, you could argue this 2024 Eagles defense was just as stacked. So I think you guys see where I'm leaning. I do think the 2024 Eagles would beat the 2025 Seahawks because at their best, they have the better roster, they have the better offense, and their defense is on par with the 2025 Seahawks. So with that being said, tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all boys later. Peace.